Good morning, gardening friends. Today is Sunday, May 18th. It's about 7:45 in the morning, and it's already 79 degrees in my Mobile garden, zone 9A. We're starting out on the front porch. This is the second time this year. I don't know if you can see it, but the windows are fogged over from the outside. AC was on all night, so the windows were cooler, and they misted over. My torch begonia, the original, one of the originals, is blooming inside. Very pretty flower. Messy though. Well, you don't see it now. When they get older, they drop down and they get all over the floor. But they're beautiful. My hydrangea is still doing well. A lot has happened this week. Mostly good, some bad. We'll talk about it as we go. Here, the wandering dudes are thickening out nicely after I cut them back. Everything I cut off, I put in another pot and stuck it out on the deck, and they're faring okay. You'll see why later, that they're not doing really well. There's the other wandering dude, a different color. But yeah, everything in here is doing well. Let's go for a walk. Let's stop here and take a look at the crepe myrtle. Is thickening out nicely. It has a couple of errant branches way on the tippy top. I may get my pole on a stick or my saw on a stick and just cut them down. Geraniums are still doing well here. I wish you could smell in my front yard because my gardenias are blooming. And it only takes one or two gardenias to really scent the place up. I put a few more ginger lilies in there. One of the good things that happened this week is I got a glass company to come in and they replaced 4 cracked panes of glass that I have. These windows are old single pane windows, and I have them mirror filmed so that way you really can't see inside. It reflects a lot of the sunlight out, as well as giving me extra protection during storms, because you can hit them with a hammer and they're not going to shatter. They'll crack, they'll break, but it's tough to get them to actually shatter. Here's a fresh gardenia. My fig is recuperating. It will grow quite quickly. I don't know as if I'll have any figs this year, but that's okay. The plant is still alive. It will live to see another day. I did a little bit of work here, not a lot. This is one of those places I had a pane of glass, that one replaced, but unfortunately my fern is a little the worse for wear because of it. The mirror film goes on the inside, so I've called the guy to do the mirror film replacements, and he'll be around hopefully in the next couple of weeks. This needs to be thinned out some. I did go ahead and trim by the bird feeder because that camellia was growing into the bird feeder, so it opened it up some. And these nandinas have grown way taller than they were supposed to, so I may nip them back a little at the top again. This bed looks well. It's gotten so that we haven't had any rain. Of course, last time we got rain, it was over 6 inches, but not a lot of rain, no rain last week. So I've been having the water, and this bird bath gets emptied about every 3rd day, so I have to keep refilling it. Impatiens are looking well. I did go ahead and thin out some of the wandering dude over there to help them thicken out. Still need to come in here and do a little pruning, but it'll happen eventually. Still a little bit of winter damage on this palm. I'll probably come and clean up the last of the couple of fronds. I didn't want to take everything damaged off when I did it earlier this year because it would have had no leaves. So I figured it's best to leave a few, and then when the new leaves, fresh ones, come out, I'll go ahead and take the old ones off. This gardenia is really in bloom. Unfortunately, I have to cut it back. These last ones here I never got around to trimming down, but I will. They'll branch back and bloom again. No sign of blossoms yet on my limelight hydrangea, and you can see the cassia is now fully growing. Only one shoot so far. I will have to cut it back to encourage branching. A lot of traffic for this time of the day. Must be people going to church. Oh, there's a spent blossom of my magnolia. I guess it's still blooming. I did straighten and clean up the front yard yesterday. I did notice my opuntia has gotten new leaves, but it also has flower buds. One here, one there, another one up there, two over there. So it's got buds all over it. So it's going to have more flowers this year. And something's been digging. You can see a trench there in the ground. The bananas are looking really good. I had to cut some of the banana branches down in order for the glass repairman to get in there last week, because there was a window broken there too, cracked. Blackberries are still doing well, and you can see the first of the blackberries are starting. You really have to let them ripen until they just about fall off in the palm of your hand when you nudge them. Otherwise, they're going to be very, very sour. Lavender is doing well. I also need to keep these tall sprigs are where next year's fruit is going to be. And I like to cut them. I'll probably cut it to here, midway, so that way they'll encourage more outward branching low to the ground, so I can keep it underneath my fence and use the fence like a trellis. But see, I cut one back here already, you can see. But if they're loaded with fruit, these are a little later because of being in the shade of the tree. It's amazing how, well, the shade probably of that tree, more than likely. You can see the female cycad is not going to send up any leaves. Rather, that's its reproductive structure. I cleaned this area up well yesterday. Got on my butt and cleaned all the grass and weeds out of this parking pad. I have the other one to do yet. My lawn man probably thinks I was crazy because when they came in and did the lawn last week, I told them don't mow the weeds in the parking pads, because it's a lot easier pulling out a big weed than it is a mowed one. So I'll be doing that probably tomorrow. I don't like to work on a Sunday. I remember the old man in the Old Testament that got stoned to death for picking up twigs on a Sunday. Yeah, I know it's the Old Testament, but I don't want to take any chances. Here you see my Australian tree fern is doing well. Still getting lots and lots of branches. My tomatoes, I have harvested probably about 8 tomatoes from this. They are delicious, but to be truthful, the skins are a little tough. And I bought some cleome, which I'm going to put in these pots that I got at the antique shop that I discovered last week. They have a Greek key design in them. I think I'm going to, potted plants are going to have to stay in the front yard, anything of value. You'll see why shortly. Sounds ominous. My lilies of the Nile, or agapanthus, are blooming. And this geranium looks spectacular. Here is some of the sad news that I have to report. Here is where we had to bury Dilly last week. She got hit by a car on the street, and we put her here. So I have 4 orphaned kittens in the backyard, and I bought kitten food, as well as dehydrated kitten or cat milk for kittens. So I'm mixing up food for them. I don't have to feed them. They're old enough to eat from a container. But then their grandmother has taken over the backyard, and she brought 3 of her kittens that are ginger colored. They're slightly older. She tolerates the new ones. She doesn't let them nurse from her, but she tolerates them being around. And I had to laugh yesterday because Miss Mimi went outside and all 4 kittens ran up to her and she could not take it. She hissed at them, and next thing I knew, Grandma had run over and was fixing to fight with Mimi. So it's good she's defending the kittens. Bad for Mimi because she can't go outside now. There is my toad lily. It's doing well. My cordylines are coming up nicely. Everything here is looking pretty good. I don't think I'll have any fruit this year on my satsumas, but I had so much last year, I won't miss it. Now get ready for some destruction, at least on the deck. There's Grandma. I think I'm just going to call her Grandma. She never had a name. She looked just like her daughter, the one that disappeared a couple of weeks ago. And of course, Dilly was her other daughter. I'll miss Dilly and her sister, Pickle, because they always used to sit on this table and wait for me to give them breakfast in the morning. It's kind of funny. It's strange to go out there and not have them first thing in the morning waiting on the table for me. These flowers are looking fine over here. Coleus. I don't get too upset over these. They're all wild cats. They're welcome here as long as they want to stay. It's a safe haven for them. But they do have free will to come and go. And sometimes they make bad decisions. But that is life. My daylilies are still blooming. What's up, Granny? She was very feral and wild, but since now she's raising 8 cats altogether. No, 4, 5, 6, 7 cats altogether. She's chilled out a little bit. They're progressing on my garage. Hopefully they'll get the trim done this week. Let's go back here to take a look at these potted plants. They're doing well. Again, this is going to be straightened up once when the garage is finished. Banana looks really good. And my asparagus are coming up. That's about all that can be said for them. I did finally get rid of 2 bags of leaves. Spread them out last week. Yay, there's one. I have room for them. The problem is I just have to weed before I put them down. And therein lies the rub. That takes time and energy. Sometimes I don't have a lot of either. This, by the way, is where the 4 kittens spend most of their day. They go underneath the deck. Oh, I forgot to put that hanging pot back. I have to take it down. Well, the guy came yesterday and was working on my trim. But here's where I put the kitty food out. And they like to hide under the deck. Well, this Bougainvillea is really doing well. It's an absolute full bloom. I also put other leaves here, but you can see I still have to clean a little in there. There's room for some more leaves there yet, but I've got 3 bags left. Yes, sir, 3 bags full. I did clean up some of this palm that was draped over this camellia. And the camellia is sprouting. It looks like it's going to have a chunk missing from it, but it is what it is. And this satsuma is pitiful. The whole reason I had these walls built, and originally this satsuma, the wall went here and edged this way. It was next to the wall. Well, now you see what the difference in the ecosystems, or the little system next to the wall. Usually you can cheat your growing zones, because if you're within the height of your wall in terms of closeness to the wall, that's an 8-foot wall. So in other words, if you're within 8 feet, you're basically a zone higher. And now that's not the case anymore, because there's no wall behind this satsuma. So you can see how much of it died back versus that one, not so much. But it is what it is. It's coming back. It will live. This is another very fragrant flower, the jasmine. Birds are very talkative today, way up there on the wire. The palm is looking good, the Canary Island date palm. It's thickening out nicely. It's quiet back here. I forgot to put the fountains on. This is a strange duck. This is the male cone of my cycad, and I thought it was a fluke that it sent up that one branch that was new this year. All the others had browned out for the frost. And while driving around yesterday, I spotted another male cycad with just one frond sticking up. So it must be some kind of an adaptation, I guess, to attract whatever pollinates. Takes the pollen from this and spreads it to the females. It's just kind of odd. I thought this was a one of, but apparently not. That cone is going to grow about double in height. It usually gets about 3 foot tall. Bananas are getting huge and will continue to get big. Spanish moss is dripping, which is what it should be doing. I do see some has fallen off. I'll have to put it back on the tree. So far the kittens have not come this far. This little area is looking nice. Colocasia is doing well. I've told you keep that in a pot in a zone 9A. If you plant it in the ground, it grows like bamboo. It'll sprout all over everywhere. And next thing you know, if you don't keep after it, you will have a backyard full of nothing but that. This coleus cluster is doing well. My yellow angel's trumpet is still there. It hasn't really grown any. And the begonia is looking good. Flowers on my, well, I guess it's the plume stalk. The flowers have fallen off. That's a close-up of the flowers of the Serenoan repans. Blueberries are starting to turn, but nowhere near yet ripe. Blueberries are another fruit that's hard to judge when they're ripe. You really want them to fall off in your hand, otherwise they're going to be extremely sour. The vincas are looking fantastic up there in pots. I did a little cleaning in this area. I didn't do the main thing in the corner because this was not big trash week and I didn't want to have a big pile of stuff. This is all the flowers on this sedum. But now you can see what I was telling you about. That's my cassia. That cassia and this cassia I got late last year in the seconds plant area of a local nursery. Most of my plants I tend to get either discounted or seconds. They had already bloomed and they were actually kind of pitiful looking, but I planted them last fall and they did well. They did not die back from the cold that we got. So apparently they're protected enough in this little ecosystem here, that they did not freeze back to the ground. So they're just taking off again. They can get very tall and I'll have to keep an eye on them. I remember I went away one time for the summer and my yard man had basically more or less entwined them together and made an archway over this bench. I used to have them in this spot, but they died out. So I've planted new ones, and I may do the same thing if they get that tall. It was a pretty sight to see all the yellow overhead. Here you can see some fruits coming on this palm, pindo palm. They'll turn orange when they get ripe. They're not ripe yet. Still have an Easter lily. All of my angel trumpets back here are very, very green and lush. The bugs have stopped eating them, or at least most of them, and they're just loaded with flower buds. So everything back here is doing well. Oh, the pecan. Look at the pecan has leafed out nicely. This year it may rise above the fence. We shall see. This is only 3 years. It's its 3rd full year from a pecan nut. They grow quickly if they find the right spot. I am going to have to move that. There's a clay pot stuck between the angel's trumpet and the pecan. It's actually on the stump of the Japanese plum, one of these that had died. But obviously the things around it are doing so well. I need help moving that because it's too heavy. I'll find another. I'll probably find a spot near the garage, near the, what did we call that? Garconniere. Maybe I'll put it over here next to the door. French for man cave. I don't see any fruit on the plum, but it is a nice size. If I can keep it that size tree, I would love to. Here you can see the Alstroemeria wild, but it looks so pretty. I kind of hate to yank it up. This is due to sheer laziness. I haven't gotten there yet. I still have strawberries. The birds haven't figured out there are strawberries there, and I don't get hand over fist lots of them, but I get one or two every couple days, which is not bad. I think I saw some, yep, down here, fruiting sections of the smaller Serenoan repans. This one actually had fruit last year, berries. And now prepare yourself for death and destruction. And there is one of the culprits right there. I have 7 kittens now in the backyard. 3 are the color of Oscar. You may recall him. And there is evidence that they were on the tabletop because they knocked over my seedling tray and pulled out one of the seedlings. And there's Grandma. I've put these plants on top of the table here to protect them. Equisetum. They love Equisetum. Equisetum's been around for 350 million years. And this one they like to lay in. I bought some hardware cloth. I'm going to have to make a metal cage for that so it'll come back. But it's those little ginger cats that are a little older. They like to climb. They're going to get tame eventually. Right now they're not all that tame. The smaller ones are actually a little more tame. But you can see they've discovered that they can break down my papyrus. So far they haven't gotten in a lot of the pots. They seem to keep it more or less around this chair because they like to jump up in that chair, and any pot around there was a place for them to leap onto from the chair. I don't know what happened to that cat's tail, but it has a spot on the tail where its fur had been yanked out, I guess, by something. They knocked that pot over yesterday. Cyclamen, because of the heat, are starting to wane. I had to put this up here until they sprout because you know who likes to tromp on them. Well, I put it here and they like to drink like the grandmother does out of that water thing. You have to be careful where you walk now because there are cats flitting all over the place, kittens flitting all over the place. But I kind of was upset at first with the equisetum, but it's kind of iffy right now, which I like more, the kittens or the equisetum. Right now the kittens have cuteness in their favor, so the little ones my heart goes out to because they lost their mother, so they're a little closer in my heart than the yellow ones. They're also small too. So in any event, I'll leave you with a picture of the Bougainvillea. It really stands out nicely against that turquoise garage. And I will wish you a good week. Take care, and I'll see you next Sunday.